Whether you're having to hold the fill valve down, nope, start that back. That's a handle. Yeah, that felt good. It's your flapper. Fix it. Bloop, blip, 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 blip. All right, so you know you have a problem, and that's a leaking toilet. Are you having to hold your handle down to flush it? Is it taking entirely too long to refill? Or are you noticing small water drops behind the tank? All of these things can lead to bigger problems down the road. So today I'm gonna show you what to look for and how to fix it. How do I know the flapper in my tank has gone bad? Number one is the sound. If I can hear the toilet running and I know I haven't flushed it, that's water probably leaking past the flapper and refilling the bowl. Number two is my water bill. If I've noticed my water bill is much higher than normal and I can't find leaks or standing water in my house, there's a good chance that it's the flapper in my tank constantly refilling because it's not stopping the water anymore. So let's get into how to fix it. Step one, I'm gonna turn the water off. Now, we're here today to replace the flapper, but since this is such an old fill valve, I'm gonna go ahead and replace that too. Now, you have plenty of options when you go to buy material. This is an old school one. They still do make it. You can get one that's a direct swap. However, today, I'm going back with a more universal style fill valve. There's a lot of different designs, but they all work basically the same. They have a float. If this float drops to the bottom, it's gonna fill with water until the water level rises, brings my float all the way to the top, and kills the water. And of course, that kit came with our flapper. Now, if you noticed water on the floor, or if you're here for water leaking out of the tank, you can buy a set that has everything you need in that, from the gaskets to the tank bolts, the whole 9 yards. Luckily today, we just have our fill valve and our new flapper. So let's get started. I've got the water turned off, so all I'm gonna do is go ahead and flush this toilet and empty out my tank. Nice and empty so I don't have to work around my water. Go through and take the flapper off of the overflow valve and then disconnect my chain from the handle. Now, because I hadn't had an issue with the chain, I'm gonna go ahead and use this old flapper as a guide for chain length with my new one. So I had to go down just a hair. And that'll do it. So I'm gonna set my old one to the side. Let's get our new one put on. Looks like I have a good fit. I'm gonna turn the water back on and get this thing tested. So all I'm gonna do now is wait for my water to fill, ensure that it's not running past my flapper, give this thing a few flushes. So as the tank is filling up, what I'm letting it do is get complete so I can stop hearing the noise of it refilling. What I'm listening for is water rushing past the flapper. I'm watching to make sure my level doesn't go down. I give it just a few minutes, and then once I'm sure that no more water is going past, I'm gonna give this thing a few test flushes. And just like that, we've got a brand new flapper. That problem has been solved. Let's go ahead and change a fill valve. So I gotta cut the water back off. I gotta drain this tank out. I don't wanna work underwater. Once my water's off, I'm gonna empty the tank. Once I've got as much water as I can out of it that way, I'm gonna get me a bucket, go ahead and put it below the tank so I can undo my supply line and the nut that's holding our flush valve in place. So we're gonna do that now. I'm just taking off the nut on the bottom of our tank here that actually holds the fill valve in place. Once that nut's gone, all I've got to do is lift the fill valve out and get our new one put in. This simply just lifts right out. Get this old one out of the way, and let's get our new one put in. So I'm going to drop the fill valve in place where it goes. So I'm just going to tighten my nut here on the bottom, making sure that I just go hand tight. This is a plastic nut on a plastic body. There's no reason to crank this down. This has a good sized rubber gasket on top. What I don't want to do is crack the plastic on a brand new fill valve because I'm unsure of how good the gasket's going to be. It'll hold. This only needs to be hand tight. Same thing with my supply line here. This is getting screwed on to plastic threads. There's no reason to crank this down to make it extra tight. Trust that it'll hold, because it will. All right, now that I've got my fill valve in, I'm actually gonna put my hose right down into my overflow tube. Now yours may look different if you don't have the housing here that actually supports the hose. It'll come with this black clip. It's simple. This pushes right onto the end of your hose, and this will clip to the outside of your fill valve. Right here on the outside of the overflow tube, so the hose is pointed down into it. So now everything's installed. I've got a gray knob here on the side. It's got a plus and a minus. To the left is going to allow less flow into the tank. To the right is going to allow more water into the tank. What I'm looking for is that when this tank is filled, I've got a ½ inch to a full inch below the overflow tube. Because if this is pouring into the overflow tube, we're right back to a constant running toilet, which is why I'm here in the first place. So this fill valve came and it looks like it's the perfect size. Now, if you put yours in and it's too tall and you're not gonna be able to get your lid back on, it's simple. You grab the bottom of the stem and it rotates right back in to shorten, or you can pull it to the left and get it out if you need a taller fill valve. Now, again, this is all on my water. I want it to be about an inch below the top of the overflow. Let's get this tested. And now we're sitting at just about an inch below the top of it, so this looks perfect. So let's go ahead and give it one more test, make sure it refills where we want it. Cannot stand that noise it's making. So what I'm gonna do is just turn that down a bit. So this is another knob. This controls the amount of water that's going through my hose into my overflow tube. It's loud, it's obnoxious, which is why the customer called us here in the first place. We don't need to leave them with another sound coming out of the bathroom. All right, looks like we refilled. We're holding at the level we set it at, and I'm not feeling any leaks or drips from my nut here at the bottom of the tank. There's no water running. Let's get out of here and get on to the next one.